In 1999, social psychologist Ian McKee published a study on the vicious cycle of punitive justice. Participants who were wronged in a financial game and given the chance to retaliate reported an immediate spike in satisfaction, but only for 45 seconds. After that minute elapsed, their mood dropped lower than those who had never retaliated at all. Worse, they became hypervigilant, anticipating betrayal even from neutral parties. The act of revenge did not resolve the original wound. It reopened it and salted the earth around it. This is the central paradox of retribution. It feels like closure, but it functions as an open loop. The human brain, wired to detect threats and restore balance, mistakes vengeance for homeostasis. In reality, revenge is a psychological trap, a promise of satisfaction that delivers only escalation, paranoia, and an emptiness deeper than the original injury. You do not heal a cut by cutting back. History has tested this proposition in Fire and Blood. 3 acts, separated by time and culture, share a single psychological engine: the belief that destruction will bring peace. Narcissistic injury in a Berlin bunker, institutional sadism in a simulated prison, mass hysteria in a New England village. Each one reveals a different face of the same hunger, and each one proves that revenge is a debt system where no one ever breaks even. The first act belongs to a man who turned a continent into an altar for his own wounded ego. Adolf Hitler's rise is often explained through economics or geopolitics, but the psychological driver was far more primitive: narcissistic injury. In his 1925 manifesto Mein Kampf, Hitler framed Germany's defeat in World War I not as a military loss, but as a personal humiliation inflicted by internal enemies: Jews, Marxists, traitors. This is the signature of the malignant narcissist, the inability to separate the self from the group. An attack on the nation becomes an attack on the body. A political setback becomes a surgical wound to the soul. Revenge for the narcissist has no satiation point. Ordinary people seek retribution to restore a prior equilibrium. The narcissist seeks not restoration, but dominance. They do not want the score settled. They want the score erased by proving they were never vulnerable in the first place. Hitler's revenge escalated from legal discrimination in 1935 to Kristallnacht in 1938, to the Wannsee Conference in 1942, where industrial-scale murder was formalized. Each atrocity was supposed to be the final settling of accounts. Each one failed. The psychological literature on revenge shows that the act of retaliation reinforces the original feeling of victimhood rather than dissolving it. The more Hitler punished, the more convinced he became that the conspiracy was still alive. In April 1945, with Soviet shells falling on Berlin, he dictated his last will and testament. He did not express regret. He blamed the German people for failing him. Even in defeat, the narcissistic injury demanded one more act of revenge, this time against his own nation. He had destroyed millions. He had lost a world war, and he died hungrier for retribution than the day he started. The second act did not require a dictator. It required only a staircase, a set of uniforms, and 9 ordinary young men. In 1971, Philip Zimbardo's Stanford Prison Experiment remains the most disturbing laboratory demonstration of revenge's institutional faith. What began as a study of role-playing became a 6-day descent into cruelty. The guards, given no explicit instructions except to maintain order, quickly began inventing humiliations. Prisoners were stripped, deprived of sleep, forced to simulate sexual acts, locked in a closet they called the hole. But this was not mere sadism. Watch the archival footage. Look at the guards' faces. They believed they were justified. Here is the psychological mechanism that the experiment exposed. Revenge does not require a prior wrong. It requires only the perception of a wrong. The guards perceived the prisoners as rebellious, disrespectful, potential threats. In response, they punished, and each punishment produced resentment, which the guards interpreted as further rebellion, which produced more punishment. This is the revenge spiral in its purest form. Zimbardo had to terminate the experiment after only 144 hours because his own graduate students began treating the prisoners with casual brutality. What is truly terrifying is not that sadists volunteered for the guard role. It is that psychologically healthy individuals, placed in a system that rewarded punitive authority, began to feel genuine satisfaction in the exercise of revenge against people who had done nothing wrong. The trap here is subtle, but absolute. Revenge convinces you that you are responding to a threat when you are actually creating one. Every act of retribution generates the next grievance. The guards slept soundly after their shifts because their brains had reframed cruelty as justice. That is the lie revenge tells, and it is a lie the human mind is disturbingly eager to believe. The third act moves from the laboratory to the village green. In 1692, Salem, Massachusetts, was a community fracturing along fault lines of land dispute, religious anxiety, and frontier trauma. Into this pressure cooker walked a group of adolescent girls who began exhibiting strange fits, contortions, screaming, claims of pinpricks, and spectral visions. The local magistrate, William Staunton, a man described by contemporaries as obsessed with the purification of sin, saw not hysteria, but evidence of a demonic conspiracy. And once he named the conspiracy, revenge became a collective sport. The Salem Witch Trials are often misunderstood as religious fanaticism, but the psychology driving them was social revenge. Neighbor accused neighbor, servant accused master. The accused could escape only by confessing and naming others. This is the mechanics of mass hysteria as revenge. The accusation itself becomes a weapon, and the act of naming transfers suspicion from the accuser to the accused. Over 15 months, 200 people were imprisoned. 20 were executed. And here is the psychological detail that haunts the record. The accusers never stopped. As the gallows filled, their fits continued. They pointed at Rebecca Nurse, a 71-year-old grandmother known for her piety. She was hanged. The fits continued. They pointed at John Proctor, who mocked the proceedings as theater. He was hanged. The fits continued. Because social revenge, unlike physical revenge, has no natural terminus. The reward is not the death of the accused, but the performance of accusation itself. The only way the Salem trials ended was by external intervention. Governor Phipps, whose own wife had been questioned, dissolved the court. The revenge spiral did not burn itself out. It had to be shut down from above. And in the silence after, no one felt satisfied. The accusers moved away or fell silent. The survivors carried guilt that would never lift. Staunton, the judge, refused to apologize. He died believing he had done God's work. That is the final horror of revenge. Even when it destroys everything, it still feels righteous to those wielding it. Narcissistic injury in the bunker, institutional sadism in the laboratory, collective hysteria on the village green. 3 acts, 1 engine, each driven by the conviction that destruction would bring resolution. Each proving that revenge does not close a wound, it converts the wounded into the wounding. Hitler died consumed by his own fury. The Stanford guards went home to ordinary lives, convinced they had done nothing wrong. The Salem accusers never apologized because their brains had already rewritten history in their favor. Revenge is not a failed strategy. It is a perfect trap. It delivers exactly what it promises: escalation, emptiness, and the strange comfort of believing you are the victim forever. So here is the question that lingers after every act of retribution, from the personal to the political. If revenge never satisfies, what is it that we are really hungry for when we reach for it?